Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of the weekly update. I did things. We had a rainy day, and we get to benefit from that here in a couple days. Let me just break it down. Quick view tomorrow. Fab Lab Sunday. A quick view or junk view on Monday. The lines between quick view and junk view are becoming increasingly blurred as companies generally regarded as knockoff companies are starting to make stuff like most notably the Mix Racing Tusk clone, the Fusk. It's good. It's a good tire. I don't have any problem with it. Injora is kind of doing the same thing. Tamiyas. I love their axles. I love their brass bits. Like there's an AMK toy, terrible name, it makes, you can get ring and pinion, link risers, stuff like that. Nice. Parts are nice. Cheap. Like $12 for a ring and pinion. Because a lot of us out here aren't going like, oh, well, you know, I've got a bunch of rigs that need some underdrive or overdrive added. Let's spend $40 a pop on Vanquish or something similar. Or Boom Racing, which the AMK toy ones look exactly like the Boom Racing ones that go for $35, $40 each. So, there's Ascent content coming up. There's Zobazu coming up. There is, I don't know, I've forgotten. That's as far out as I've gotten. Coming up, so the day before the next weekly update, the final weekly update of the month of November, it's Thanksgiving here in America land, and the last day I didn't upload a video was Thanksgiving 2022. So I'm taking the day off. I'm gonna move whatever that upload is over to the weekend, and because I'm not saying that I developed some sort of goal fixation obsession with meeting a goal, but once I realized, and when I say once I realized, I mean in like July, I was like, you could go a year. You could do at least an upload a day for a year. I'm hoping to have a ploffering next Wednesday. I like to throw the plofferings in on Wednesday. Some of the stuff isn't ready. What is ready is, I will talk about this more on next Wednesday for sure. There's the Falcon. Why is it out of the box, you might ask? Still got all the vinyl on it. I needed the box. Steve and the Fordyce have made their way back home. I don't think they arrive for a couple more days until after the weekend. But before Thanksgiving. So I needed the box because Steve fit perfectly. Steve had been here for so long that I probably cut up the box and threw it away. So I shipped Steve out in the Falcon RTR box untouched. Why this is here now is the body, which I didn't even realize had an interior. It's still not worth $100+ extra. But the wheels and tires, the red Wild Peaks on the foams, on them, what are they, Methods, KMCs? I think they're KMCs. Wheels, tires, and body, for sure, I want to trade out. So if anybody has wanted this, but didn't want to spend the $579 on a Phoenix, we are more than willing to trade this out economically. Because this build is going to need a powertrain. It's going to need servos. We've pretty much landed on putting a hard body on it. And I was looking at the RC four-wheel drive Blazer Bronco. You know, we'd have to shorten the wheelbase down to fit it, which means more fabrication, which is stuff that I love. But I've wanted that killer body LC70 for like ever. They are so heavy, the LC70 and the Blazer, but I wouldn't have to do wheelbase changes to put the LC70 on it. Maybe put some, and the LC70 has different body mount options to where I could run a 465 or I could run a Class 1. This guy is portaled, so we could easily get away running like a Class 1, even a 4.3 or a 4.19. That's all up in the air because I do want to get rid of the body and the wheels and the tires. So keep that in mind if the body is something that appeals to... I mean, those reds are sticky. They tried to pull the whole mat up with it. So, I had something else, and then I got distracted by a thought in the middle, and it's gone now. It's gone now. So, today, we wheel in the weekly update. We have... Oh! It's right... It's right over there. It's right there. What we've got is the first 2 coats on my Minions. 2 coats of paint. It's not nearly even enough for me yet. I have a big Rust-Oleum tall boy, semi-gloss, and my goal is to use up as much of the can as possible on these guys to just get them that heavy coat to where, like, there are little spots. I don't know, the light's pretty bright. There are spots where you can still see the grain peeking through. Now, I want these, like, there's an epoxy resin that they use in woodworking. Like, if you've ever been to a dive bar and they have, like, bottle caps or coins on the bar top. We used to call it nickel thick Poron. I want this basically as thick as Poron, and I've used very little of the can. They're all still outside, stuck in floral foam. Floral foam is your friend. You can see where the line was stuck in the floral foam. I'm probably going to snip all the nails so that they're not full length, so they're easier to move around. And the goal is, here's a little fabrication goal. I've got some cedar left over. I've got some pine left over. I want to build a little chalet, a little building that will be put in place somewhere reasonably accessible, but above ground level. A little chalet that you can take the roof off, and it will have it will have storage for all of the balls, so we don't just leave them out, because they are reasonably easy to knock off. So we'll leave the bases in place, but the balls will have a little house to live in. So the house will come up. I don't know if I'll Fab Lab it. We'll see. We'll see how that comes out. Oh, and now I return to my regularly scheduled thoughts, which is, we've got a guest for the day. Visitor Garage. If memory serves, this gentleman's name is Tank. And Tank is certainly done in a way atypical to the way things are done here in the canyon. This is a red cat body of some sort, yes. There's no red cat underneath. This is brazen scale. I don't know. I don't know if it's new or old. I just know that the frame rails are steel, and they have a wonderful patina. So note to Red Cat, if you're going to do steel rails, don't powder coat them. Just leave them raw, because I think it looks nicer. It has choices that not typically made here in the canyon. Big Mamba. Bluetooth link just blinking away in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Bluetooth link just blinking away in there. I don't typically do Castle for crawler applications, and for one reason. We can do this. Ready? The Angry Spaceship, which although counterpoint, the Angry Spaceship allows us to run a big. There's the Savox Monster from the earlier test. You can absolutely run a big Savox Monster, because you can't hear that over that. Like, it's competing volume levels. It's set up pretty nice. I had to tweak on the front end a little bit. Front end was pushed over a little bit, and I had to tweak. Obviously, drag link, pan hard. You know, everything moves in unison. But what are these, crawlers? Yeah, BFG crawlers. They feel like the Proline dual stages in there. I didn't take one apart, but that has that little rebound. We've got a little dry rot starting there on the crawlers. I think this guy should do pretty great. Now, contrary to how I do things, we're talking about contrary to the canyon. This is a This is a Revolver V2 2200 kV. And I didn't even look, but I'm going to guess this is 4S. 850. Yeah. So 2200 on 4S we have occurring in the Canyon one time in RoboKitty, but RoboKitty has a phenomenal amount of gear reduction. So the 2200 is actually a little slow in him. The gear reduction is typical TRX-4 here, so it is violent. When I was tweaking the front end, I set it down on the floor. I drove it. Let's see if we can line it up. I drove it that way, and when you just let off the throttle, it will do a full stoppie. So it's an outrunner. So we've got the low. I both understand a love and a hate of the outrunner noise. I mean, I kind of like it over time. That particular the pulse width, because that's all this guy's doing. I have a Mamba X. I use it in a Centon. I think it's a perfect application for it. I think these are a bit overkill in a crawler. They have aluminum cases. It's heavy. It's probably about the same weight as the battery, so we should be pretty evened out. So we're going to take this guy out, and he's going to be our wheel of the day. Another visitor garage entry. Oh, these go in this way. I'm not expressly familiar with it, so I will... Oh, it's like I don't know how to put body clips in things. I will meet you outside. Wow, these are... Oh. I will meet you outside, and we will mush this around, and then I will unleash you, one and all, upon the weekend. Unless you're one of those people that are over in there in like Europe, where by the time you see this, it's already the weekend. Stop living in the future. Hey everybody, welcome back out to the course. I have parked Tank over here off to the side because I had not driven Tank around with his body on. And the body, well, the body is definitely something of an amplifier. We've definitely got a speaker box effect going on. This guy is loud. Oh no, I'm falling into the we've got the two camps. I'm falling into the camp of, why would you do that? And still, 4S, big old homes. Like, this thing should have a drag brake, a full-blown electronic anchor. Now, I will say, the trigger feel is quite good. Very responsive. Ooh. When it bellied up to the fence, though. Oh, you could really trend towards exhaustion pretty quickly on this thing. It drives really nice, and I didn't see any added weight. Stock hubs, stock diff covers, stock everything, just the chassis, which is also a chassis that is contradictory to how I set up chassis, in that due to the design of the chassis, the rear drive shaft is like a little nubby, and the front drive shaft is very long because the way the TRX-4 gearbox is laid out. So it looks to me like the front links are actually a little bit longer than the front ones. And this, I mean, front links are a little bit longer than the rear ones. And this tends to not be conducive to great handling. Yeah, it's super responsive. It is super planted. I could not survive this power plant. And by that, I mean this power plant. The noise cancellation feature on this microphone should be earning its stripes today. There's definitely overdrive and or underdrive, whichever. It would have to be in the housings. Yes, it would have to be ring and pinion. I think that's the only way to do it on a TRX-4. Looking at the differential in wheel speed, to me it looks like both. Like it's got front overdrive and rear underdrive. Get a little farther out that way. Wow! That was the first reverse burst, and that caught me off guard a little. It sounds like it wants to hurt people. Crawler, and by that I mean the crawler with a K, the crawler TA, doesn't feel like it's got the oh boy, it is nice when it's not moving, isn't it? The crawler TA doesn't feel like it has the absolute most forward drive. Suspension feels great. Steer angle is pretty typically TRX-4. If you're used to a straight axle AR-44 or something from Element, F10s, you're going to feel like this thing is turning really wide on you. There is no loss. Now, let me not state it as a negative. There is a definite surplus of power here. It feels like you can really punch through most anything. But I don't know if it's some peculiarity related to the Mamba, or I've not sampled Holmes revolvers in the past. It doesn't have that just like raw, like punch through any object sort of torque. It feels more brushed like than what I'm typically used to on an outrunner and a speed control operating an outrunner. The way the power comes on, the initial power, very brushed like. But certainly, when it comes, watch. Look, there's birds and stuff out here. I'm surprised that the noises coming out of that Mamba X haven't scared the birds away. Yeah, ground clearance is great. Breakover's pretty close to great. That little rollback right there. I mean, the sound. The sound is, we can't ignore that. I can't ignore that. What this thing has in absolute abundance is wheel speed. Is wheel speed. I will give it to them here. The low speed control, like I can get, that's acceptably low, right? We can work with that. The noise that it generates to do it, it's not okay. Also, wait, no, we need to go a little wider. All right, let's see if I can give it a pop and not like hook it and barrel roll this thing. So 2200 on 4S. I mean, it's kind of the spirit of a TRX-4. Like, I like everything about it except the sound. If Castle could just figure out how to not do this, we might have something. I mean, it sounds like the dilithium crystals are overheating. That's bonkers, man. $2,200 on 4S. We all saw that, right? Oh, I hope editor can get a the like slow-mo zoomed in replay of that, because I couldn't even really see what happened. Let's go over here. Here's a half rhetorical question. What is it about gophers? What is it with gophers? Like, I know what they're doing. Just doesn't seem efficient. I say this because the ground out here, the dirt beneath the obstacles, is rock hard. This is old riverbed. So when you get through so there's a lot of clayiness. So it's basically clay and sand together. It's not really dirt. I have made obstacle fill where I literally just scrape the top. We'll call it topsoil. I scrape the loose stuff off the top, throw it into a cement mixer with cement, and make obstacle fill. It cracks. It doesn't stick together quite as well. But like, it's what you're looking at right here is nothing but reclaimed sand and cement. So I've made what is effectively dirt and cement, and it works. So that's how high the clay content, the clay and sand content, is in our topsoil. So whatever these gophers are doing just below the surface of the earth, despite the fact that the top surface is hard as a rock. Like, it's like when you have to take a shovel to this and it's not wet, I call it digging in pavement. They will make their little channels 3 inches below the surface of the ground. And sometimes you're walking and your whole foot just goes into the ground, like up to about your ankle. And it's beyond annoying. I hate them so much. And I figure now is as it is, in effect, it has been a month. We will bury this here in the middle. For those who know, Gigi, the cat, 13 plus, we figure around 14. If you can think back a while to the installment of I remember it, the State of the Canyon on October the 20th. I saw the Gigi. The Gigi, I filmed all the episodes of that weekend, the weekend of October 20th. I filmed all of those episodes on that Thursday the 19th. And good old Gigi, she walked through, I want to say, if 2 of the 3, if not all 3 of the 3 videos that I posted, she walked through those. And it didn't even occur to me at the time, on the 20th, that she didn't walk through any videos that day. And my wife said to me, I think on Sunday, "You seen Gigi today?" And I was like, "No. She was walking through my videos a couple days ago, though." And I guess, what do they call it? The euphemism, the call home. October 19th was the last day we saw the Gigi. So she got the call home, I guess. And it's a really strange feeling, because Gigi never really, I used to say that she would claim people, that if you were here, she would come and sit on your lap or rub her head against your feet, and that was that. If you came back 5 years later, she'd remember you. She'd come and sit on your lap and rub on your feet, but she was never affectionate. Like, she didn't spend time in the house. She only wanted to be pet under very rare instances, and only under seno acta gamet, never without my permission. So she was very independent, fiercely independent. So as the days went by, and it became increasingly clear that she either wasn't or couldn't come back, you have that feeling. But when I was dabbling in screenwriting in college, we had long discussions about empathy versus sympathy. Like, anybody can feel sympathetic. But empathy, feeling what someone else feels, that's very difficult. So, when you have... We'll go someone. I don't want to say something. When you have someone that's in your life for that long, even if you're not, like, overwhelmingly close, loss is loss, man. So, it wasn't the feeling. I had a cat before Gigi. I had a cat, big old fat boy, big old brown tabby named Fluffus, big old fluffy boy. He had a tiny little head and a giant body. He was a 20-plus pounder, and he was my buddy. 15 years. And he didn't get the call home. He came home and he died one day. Laid down on the picnic table and died. And that is still hard for me now. That was, 17 years ago? But I don't want to say I don't feel the same way. It just, if you know, you know. Sympathy versus empathy. If you know, you know. So, Gigi was a solid citizen, supporter of the canyon. She kept these gophers at bay and the squirrels to some degree. She was the original rock crawler. She thought all of this was built for her, and she would routinely sleep in that covered bridge right over there by the pond, and she would drink out of that pond, and she thought that this was her playground. And, she wasn't wrong. So the wife has announced that that bridge is Gigi's bridge. And I agree. And I need to make some sort of plaque or something, metal, laser cut, something to go on the bridge. In a memoriam of sorts. It is not and was not my intention to bring anybody down, but I saw the stupid gopher mounds over here, and the brain spirals. We just spiral, and we end up here. And also, I would rather let's bring it back up, right? Let's elevate the level. I would rather speak somberly about a cat than listen to this. So, that's got to tell you something, right? Pets, man. I feel like I really I feel like I brought the whole room down. Like there's a real change in the energy, and I'm the only one out here. It's just me and the birds. So that's a weird thing. We're going to find a spot with some good light, and we're going to wrap this up. In related news, the universe has decided that for 15 years of my life, we had one cat. And then he passed away. And then we got another cat, which we have to assume has passed away. And we had Gigi alone for 7-8 years. And then a cat just showed up. A tiny little malnourished kitten. We found it in the carport. And I named it the Kraken because the Kraken was unpredictable and was semi-feral and never really, it would live in the house and it would sleep at the foot of the bed, but it never really, the word I would use is normalized. The Kraken was always weird. The Kraken was terrified to go outside. She was the opposite of the G. She would not go outside. She was a big, chubby tortie. And one day, that cat would, and I mean this when I say this, that cat would never go outside, literally, as the British would say. And then one day, she was just gone. She got out of the house somehow, and we never saw her again. And she'd lived here for 9 years. And strangely, in that one, I don't want to sound like a psychopath and say I felt nothing, but The Kraken never bonded with any of us. My younger kid missed the Kraken a bunch. And I was like, that's weird. Because that cat was like a relative that came to stay and didn't like anybody. But it stayed, I guess, because there was food and shelter. I don't know what the Kraken's motivations were. So then you've seen one of the others a couple times. We have 5 cats. Okay, 4 cats? How many cats do we have? The Gigi, may she rest in peace. I have to assume. It's been a month. We have the big Bubs. We've got the tiny lion. Those are our COVID cats. We got them together. Then we had a cat that just appeared at the house. He's a little brown tabby, and he's the man. He's a little weird. He's a little weird man. He just showed up at the house. His name is Frank. Sometimes I call him Francis. Sometimes I call him Francois. I've talked about Frank before. Frank is a weird little man. And then right around the time that the Gigi disappeared, a cat showed up on our patio right outside the kitchen door. There's French doors into the kitchen. A cat showed up outside the kitchen, refuses to come inside, won't come within 20 feet of a person. So it's mostly feral. It's a little orangish, whitish little cat. It's very small, like very, very small. So it must have been like 8, 9 weeks old when it appeared outside. Won't come near a person, as I said, but will eat as much food as you put in front of it. And constantly, if you look out through the French doors, there's just a tiny little orange-white head right in the corner of the window. So I call it Peepers, the Peeps. So Peepers is now we always have to have one strange cat, I guess. That's the universe provides, I suppose. So we have 4. We have 4 cats, and I was really happy with one, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and now it's 3.5, almost 4. Yeah, that drives pretty good right there. Now we have in returning to the stuff that we tend to be here for to some degree. Is that gonna roll out? Yeah. The skid on this thing is really long, so you're sliding that big. It's the opposite of belly dragger stuff. The skid on this has to be, I'm not kidding, like 4 inches long. So the breakover is brought about purely by portals and not by that. I think this skid is longer than the Traxxas factory skid, but it is very flat to the rails. It's a neat little chassis. And it must go back a ways, because I don't think steel flat rail chassis are super common. Just the sound of it. I mean, it's agile. It's plenty agile. And it's pretty good at rock crawling. But it's more of a Huna crawler. That does remind me. Someone in the comments had posted a question on, I'm not even sure what video. It might have been on one of the LaserNut videos where they asked about putting a Fusion Pro in a U4. Rock racer, rock bouncer, etc. And I was like, I don't think I would do that because, well, the KV is going to be too low. Unless you could magically run it on 4S, which you can't, because this is 2200 on 4S. I don't think, like, it's all relative, right? In relative terms, this thing is fast for a rock crawler. One might argue unusably fast, but in terms of U4 rock racing stuff, this thing would be like when you see in Le Mans where they're running all the classes at once, and a GTP car is coming, and there's like a I don't know all the names of the Le Mans classes, but like a BMW 1 Series is going down the straight, and that GTP car goes by it like it's moving into another dimension. Like, it's going so much faster. You go, how are these two things doing the same thing at the same time? And I think that would probably be the case if you put a Fusion Pro into a U4. Like, it's just not going to generate enough speed. 2300 on 3S is brisk for a rock crawler, but exceptionally slow for something trying to go fast. I run, my LaserNut has a 1900 kV 3676, the big long can, so bigger than a 550 on 4S, and I was trying to slow it down. So I would go with something censored, a censored like starting around 3,000 on 3S or 4S, depending on what your final gearing is. I don't think an all-in-one option. Though I did see, correct me if I'm wrong, people in the comments, either Hobby Wing or the Spectrum Firma version, there's a 6,000 kV Fusion. Did I read that wrong? Have I seen am I Mandela affecting myself? Did I just think that I saw a 6,000 kV Fusion? Because I feel like I did. And if that is indeed a thing, that's wild. What is that for? What is that for? I don't know. I apologize in advance if we got too somber and we went too indoors. You know, if you're catching my drift. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. We went a little long. It's fine. I kind of have a target, and then I overshoot the target all the time. Or I should just more accurately say I missed the target. So more crawler content coming up, more of the usual-ish stuff. There was something else I had. It's gone. It's gone. So I thank you all so much again for watching. Like and subscribe, etc. Do all those usual things. I invite you, one and all, to do your very best to have a good one in between now and when we meet again. And here at the very closing, Tank and I would like to say, it's that time of day again. And collectively, we're going to have to let you go.